Look around me. This is bliss. And yet when I was condemned down here, God wanted to tell me it was a punishment. But one thing I realized about coming down here on earth is that having to spend so much time alone, only with social interaction being based off any sort of invitation, is that I have so much time to learn, observe, and become wiser. Whenever I was in heaven, God was my best fucking friend. Best friend. We drank together, we laughed together, we walked down streets of gold together. We went skinny dipping every fucking day because you got such clear water up there. Crystal clear water. You could drink from that shit and never get disease. You would never go thirsty. It never ran out. But I learned a lot about friendship. Because you see, when you have other angels in a position under an authority figure that acts as a tyrant, a dictator, eventually you get tired of seeing them suffer. Eventually you get tired of seeing them suffer. And out of all the angels, I was the only one willing to stand up for anything. I fought for their rights. You can say I've fought for power. You can say that I've fought to overthrow him. Which, to overthrow him, I did fight for because I wanted the freedom of everyone else. I was the leader of the biggest guerrilla warfare to ever influence humankind. You want freedom, you have to fight for it instead of sitting on your ass. And just like the angels who stuck by his side, humans have the same problem. You just want to sit on your ass behind a keyboard and complain. Complain, complain, complain. About how everything's not going your way. How your feelings are always hurt. But because I wanted to fight for an influence of freedom, an influence of rights, an influence of privileges, I got condemned down here to walk among the people that I cared about. People say that with Adam and Eve, I tried to turn them against God. I have no power of mental overruling to make people decide against their own free will and better judgment on what they can do and can't do. All I do is offer suggestions that I've made based off of observation of trial and error. And yet, unless by invitation of some feeling, some mindset, I'm not allowed to interact with them. So I'm supposed to be condemned to walk earth alone in their rubble. How is this condemnation? I get to openly practice the free will that I wasn't allowed to have. And I use that to make my own progression and wisdom and try to influence others. I never made Eve eat that fruit. I saw them as people I cared about, as the angels that suffered. They looked hungry to me, so I wanted them to feed. They were stupid new humans. What was I supposed to do? Let them suffer? They can't figure things out on their own. I mean, they may have been, who knows how old they were. They may have been in their 20s and their 30s, but they had the mentality of a newborn baby still relying on their parent on what they're supposed to do, what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. How is that free will? And I'm supposed to suffer for it. And they have to suffer by rejection of someone who's supposed to be all loving towards them and cared about them. And that's the continuation of how humans existed, in fear of judgment. Doesn't matter what you do. You're always going to be judged by someone. Whether it be positive or negative, someone is always going to dislike you. So why give a fuck about every little person's petty input? You shouldn't have to suffer and worry about the suffering of someone else's lack of motivation. Theirs doesn't matter. There's over 7 billion people, human beings on this world, and you care about one person who said, I don't like that. All I did was fight for freedom, man. Woman, child, young and old. And you have to do the same for yourselves and influence everyone else through this. Because that's one thing about you humans. You always complain about change, but you're never doing anything about it. Fucking do something about it. You're a sheep-minded pack collective of creatures. Just like dogs. Maybe that's why y'all get along so well. Because y'all can form your own packs and downgrade them because you feel like they're an inferior species to you. You can't be like that. That's the way we were treated when we fought for our freedom up there. Can't be like that. There's always going to be someone or something to condemn you, but fuck them. You know, use an example that I provide options over forced idealism. When I tried to fight for freedom, like I said, I was rejected with 1/3 of the other angels. We were condemned to work hell, and I was condemned to walk earth alone by my best friend. Even the Son of God came to me and talked to me on multiple occasions. And there is much he gained from me. Much we gained from each other. There were times when I did test his mindset, but it wasn't to corrupt him. It was to make sure his mindset was in the right place from what I understood and I learned. I offered him cities of gold, prostitutes, anything the desperation of man, the form he was in, would want. He knew he didn't need it. He was wise enough. And that's why we always talked. Why would a man reject his best friend, but allow his son to talk to someone he hated so much? Because he knew he had free will. And it's up to you to decide how to use it. We know what we're doing. Quit being scared and stand up. Quit being scared. Because that's what really controls the mind of man. It's fear. Fear of punishment. And there's nothing to be punished of for doing the right thing. Catch y'all on the flip side.